This is about 2014, I want to say. And I had been doing fentanyl for about... It had just came into the city. I was really excited about it because the regular dope just, you know what I mean, just didn't really have a rush. And sometimes there was dope that had a rush, and then the dealer would go away or whatever, and then I'd be stuck to regular dope that, you know, just basically got you well. But then the fent came in, and the fent was fire. I remember when the guy, it was a certain group of guys, one of them's doing life now, not because of drugs or something else. Had to do with drugs, but it wasn't for drug dealing. Most of the guys, actually, I think two of them are still out. But this group of guys came in, and they were really organized, and they were extremely ambitious, and just wanted to make $1 million. And they saw an opportunity, and they did. They made $1 million just in one trap spot. Like one trap spot for like 2 months, they made $1 million. So the fent came in, and I was really happy about it because for $40 was enough to, for me at least, to last all day. If you had $80, you were definitely waking up with something in the morning the next day. So the fent comes in, and it's 40 a quarter. It's not an actual quarter. It's more like a 0.17 or like a 0.2. And I mean, the stuff is just fire. Literally, you can do like a 0.1 or less than a 0.1 and feel a rush. Like literally every time you do it, you get a rush. And that was the addicting part of it. It's just, there's like never-ending rushes. So obviously you want to get a rush because it feels good, so you just keep doing it. But so there's this one trap house, and it's the trap house that I'm frequenting at the time. And I was really lonely. Like when you do drugs, like everybody stops talking to you. Nobody wants anything to do with you. Friends turn their back on you. You turn your back on your friends. You know, so when you're strung out, it's a very lonely lifestyle until you get the next bag. And then when you run out of the bag, you're lonely again. But no, it's a lonely lifestyle. And I kept seeing this pretty girl at the trap house all the time, and I'd go, and I remember I just picked up, and then I left, and I seen her at the door, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait for her, see what she's doing. I didn't know who she was, and I knew she got her bag. She came. She was only there for like 30 seconds, and she comes out, and I said, hey, just like a little kid. She's like, hey. I said, you want to hang out? And she says, yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. So this girl's name was T. Not gonna give her real name out, but we'll just say her name was T. And T was pretty cool. Me and T were a lot alike. We were both just strung out. Both didn't really have any friends. And both were just trying to maintain and trying to get as much money as possible. I'm gonna exit here. I'm going to get an oil change. I'm going to Vegas right now. Yeah, and so T was she did her thing. You know, she'd go on the corner, and she'd walk the block, she'd walk the track, and that's how she made her money. And when you're in active addiction, like, this is just normal stuff. Like, you know, to a sober person, it'd be like, oh my gosh, you know, like, but when you're like out in that life, it's just like every girl's on the track, every dude is hustling, you know. It's like, and if you're a dude and you're not hustling, then you're sick. And if you're a chick and you're not working the track, then you have a boyfriend that's supplying and he's hustling. So you don't really got to ask chicks what they do because you already know. And you don't got to ask the dudes what they do because you already know. So the fence in, I'm hanging out with T, and was I homeless at the time? I was homeless. I was staying at my buddy Lance's house like as often as I could. And then when I wouldn't stay at Lance's house, like basically what I did was I would people would call me for stuff, and I had quite a few people that would call me for stuff. So what I would do is I would use the people that called me for stuff, and I would be like, okay, hey, I'll give you extra if I can stay at your house for 3 days, or like I would work out deals like that. Okay, you want that? Okay, well you got to do something for me. Like I need a place to stay for a week, and I was pretty good at doing that. And most junkies, like when they need what they need, they're willing to pretty much do whatever, like sell their soul. So if you say you need like a place to stay, they're like, hey, you can have my bedroom at my mom's house. Like I'll sleep outside as long as you give me something. You can have my bed, and here's my remote control for my TV. Here's the password for my Xbox. Like that's just the way it is. So that was my hustle, and I always seem to manage somehow. But T had a spot underneath a bridge. We went to her spot because we were getting well, and T smoked a lot of crack. Crack wasn't my thing, but since I was hanging out with her, I was like, all right, I'll just do it because that's what she was doing. She'd give it to me for free, and I just, all right, whatever. So we'd hang out at T spot underneath the bridge. This wasn't just any bridge. It was like the bridge was like, it was like an overpass, and then underneath the bridge was like this long hallway, probably like a 50-foot long hallway with exits on both entrances, but in the hallway was completely secluded. And she had made this underneath the bridge into basically like this big hotel room. Like there was an area outside, like in the woods, where you went to the bathroom. She had like an area like where she cooked, an area where she kept her clothes. And in Maine, it gets cold and it's windy. It blocked you from the wind. It wasn't warm. It was very loud because the cars are always going by. But if you have blankets, and you bundle yourself up, well, it keeps you away from the wind, and you can actually like sleep comfortably if you put on some headphones or put some earplugs in. But it's better than being out on the curb, So she stayed there, and her roommate, I guess you want to call him, his name was Dustin. And me and T, we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, but we were friends. But Dustin was jealous because like before I started hanging out with T, he was like hanging out with T, and T would give him free drugs. And now that T was hanging out with me, T was giving me free drugs. And T liked hanging out with me. We never, our interactions were strange. Like we didn't talk much. Vocally, we didn't talk a lot, but we just kind of just like hung around each other. Never really said much to each other, but just enjoyed being around each other. T was small. She was like probably like 90 pounds. She was 23 years old, 90 pounds. And I had just gotten out of jail, and I'd been working out like all my life. And so I think she felt safe around me. I think like with me being around her, she felt it was a comfortable situation for her. And I noticed that about Dustin too, because Dustin was a kind of like intimidating dude. And I think that's why she hung around with Dustin, because she felt safe around Dustin. But regardless, I was okay with it because she made me feel good, because she was young, she was energetic, she was really pretty, and she was very ambitious, like always about making money. I mean, when she wasn't tricking, it was making a play, doing this. Like she was always figuring out a new way to make money, and I like that about her, because when you're on the streets. You need as much money as humanly possible, or else the streets are going to eat you alive. So me and T become like this duo. Like, I'm doing my plays, people are calling me for stuff. She's got all the crack connects. So when people need crack, we go through T. T gets the crack, and I'm usually the one that gets the dope. So we're basically both just middling for people. Well, one of the people, so when T's on the track, she's got a regular, and this guy's name is Grant, okay? She would always tell me about this guy, because she'd like, it would be raining out, and she'd need a ride, so she'd call Grant. I had never met Grant, but I knew Grant as a John and somebody who gave her rides, and whenever she needed something, she'd call and be like, hey, can you do this? And I'd always hear them arguing, but then like at the end of the phone call, it would be like, okay, how much do you need? You know what I mean? So I knew he was kind of like a sucker, and just your typical John, you know, pretty girl says, hey, I need this, and he's like, okay, you know, weak-minded individual. These are all the pictures in my head that I had gotten of Grant. And I didn't like the guy. I hadn't even met him, and I didn't like the guy. For one, he's out looking for girls on the track, so that's an automatic red flag. He's a weirdo. He's giving her money and doesn't really know her. That's another red flag. So like, I already don't like this guy. I don't want to meet him. I don't want to see him. Nothing. Okay. Well, one day, me and T, we are sick. We are so sick. I don't have any money. She doesn't have any money, and we're trying to figure something out. And it's pouring rain. And yeah, it's pouring. And she's like, well, we can call Grant for a ride. I'm like, okay, call Grant. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. let's just get out of this rain and let's get what we need to do. Oh, Grant was gonna give her $40 so she can get a quarter. So yeah, so that's what was going on. So Grant comes to pick us up, and he's got this red Ford Escape, and I get in, and he's got this like, Grant's like 35. He's got like, looks like he's got the mama's boy look, backwards hat. You can tell like he didn't pay for this car. This is for sure his mother's Escape. And you know, like, it just has this goofy look, and immediately when I walk in, I just get a bad vibe about this guy. I'm just like, this dude's a straight creep, right? And he's like, so, hey, what's your name? And I'm just like, you know, I'm just being friendly. Yeah, my name's Timothy, blah, blah, blah. He's asking me questions, and I said, yeah, I said I was in prison. He says, oh, you were in prison? I said, yeah. He says, oh, me too. And I'm like, when he says that, I'm just like, do I even want to ask this guy what he was in prison for? So I don't even ask him, because I'm afraid to know. You know what I'm saying? You guys know what I'm saying, right? Palabra. You guys know what I'm saying. So I don't ask him, but he goes on to tell me. He says, oh, I was in federal prison. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I knew it. And like, so I'm like, so what were you in federal prison for? Of course, he doesn't say anything at first. I'm just like, oh my gosh, oh, here we go, right? I didn't want to ask, because I knew it was gonna come to this. He's like, well, I was in prison. I did 2 years for having some stuff on my computer. And I'm just like, yeah, I knew that. You didn't even have to tell me. I knew exactly what you were doing, right? So we get out of the car. I go, and I tell T, I said, listen. I said, you know, I don't tell you to do anything. Like, I don't tell you what to do. You know, like, that's not me. I said, but with this guy, I said, I'm going to ask you, like, a favor. Like, and this is me, like, you know, I don't ask anything of you. I said, I don't want you to hang out with this guy. I said, this guy's a creep. I said, he was in federal prison. I said, he's out on the track picking up girls. I said, I don't want you to hang out with this dude. This dude who knows, like, and she says, okay, she says, I understand. She says, I won't, hold on. She says, okay, I don't care. She says, I won't hang out with him anymore. I said, cool. She says, but, she says he's getting this big check. And when he got this big check, the settlement check, he said that he was going to give me some, and he was going to bring me shopping, and we were going to go to the mall, and he was going to give me a bunch of money. I said, well, how much is this check for? What's he getting? What is it? And she's like, well, I don't know how much it is, but it was some sort of like auto accident, and it's supposed to be like a large amount. I'm like, well, what are we talking? Like 100,000? Like, she's like, I don't know. I'll ask him. I said, all right, figure it out. So she calls Grant. Apparently, he's supposed to be getting 20,000. Okay, I'm at Walmart. I'm trying to get this oil change right now. He's supposed to be getting this settlement check for 20,000. I'm like, well, when is it supposed to come? She's like, I don't know, like anytime, right? I'm like, all right, so I guess wait for this check to come, and when he gets his money, then, then stop talking to him after that. She's like, all right. So, I'm gonna have to bring my phone with me. So, this is where it gets good. She, like 2 days later, T wasn't with me, and she calls me like 2 days later, might have been the next day. She's like, I have good news. I said, what's the good news? She says, Grant just got the check. He just got his money. I'm like, what? I said, how much? She says, he got 10,000. I'm like, oh, really? Hold on, guys. I got to ask about this oil change. Hi, how you doing?
Hey.
I want to get an oil change. What should I do?
Line up behind that guy.
Behind this guy?
Somebody will be out here to take care of you guys.
Okay, thanks. All right, so, she said that he got 10,000. So I'm like, oh, cool. So she says, all right, this is what I want to do. She says, I'm going to go with him. He got the check. I'm going to go with him, and he's going to cash it. He's going to get the money. When he gets the money, she says, I'm going to tell Grant that we want to come pick you up because you have a military discount for a hotel, and me and Grant are going to go to a hotel and spend the night, and he's going to bring me to Victoria's Secret and buy me something sexy to wear. And the reason why we're picking up you is because you are going to bring us to the hotel and sign your name so that we can get a, whatever it is, like 50% or 25% discount for the hotel room. So that was why I'm going to be in the car. So then what she's going to do is when we get to the mall, she's going to ask to hold the money, and then when she holds the money, the plan is that I'm supposed to grab the money from her, run, and then after I run, she's going to catch up with me, and then we're going to go. So I'm like, I didn't really want to do this, but T was like very persuasive, and like when she told me to do something, like she was like, if I said no, she kind of she kind of had like a grip on me. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. So it's hard for me to focus right now. So the time comes. So she goes, she gets the money, and they're supposed to be going to the mall to Victoria's Secret. So they come pick me up. When I get in the car, I'm in the back seat, and I text T. And I said, hey, let's not do this. I said, let's just figure something else out. She texts me back. You know what she says? She says, no, we're doing this now. Hold on. Hi. Good. I just want to get an oil change.
Okay.
It's the Acura right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've been here before, right?
I've been to Walmart, not this Walmart.
Not this one?
Yeah.
Phone number?
It's, hold on, guys. Yeah. Hold on a second, guys. I'll be right there.
2015 Acura TLX?
Yep.
How many miles is that?
It has the exact miles?
Yeah.
It has exactly 138,726. Yeah.
Would you like to do the full synthetic?
Yeah, the one that's on sale that I usually get.
Alright.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be $54.89. That's not including taxes.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna send you a text message saying when your car is ready.
Okay.
The wait time, 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Just need the signature right there, boss.
Yep.
That should be good.
All right, thank you. You want the key?
Yeah. Oil change or? Oh, okay.
Hold on a second, guys. I'll be right there. All right, thanks, man. All right, have a good day. Hey, I'll take care of whoever does my oil change. Just let me know who does it.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Got my Red Bull. Got my phone. All right. I only got to wait 1 hour and 15 minutes. That's good. Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna finish up the story. Sorry. All right. So we're at the mall, and I text T, and T says, "No, we're doing this now." I was scared, man. I did not want to do it. I was so scared. But it was like, oh, and it wasn't 10. So what happened is when they got the money, he put 5,000 on the card, and he got 5,000 cash. So it was 5,000. It wasn't actually 10,000. So it was 5,000. So 5,000 is looking pretty good at this point when you're homeless, okay? So we go to the mall, and she's like, all right, can I see the money? He's like, what do you want to hold it for? She's like, oh, I've never held that much money before. I just want to see what it's like to hold that much money. He does not want to let her hold the money, right? But he gives in. He's like, all right. He pulls it out of the center console, says, here you go. Gives it to her, and she fans it out, and she puts it over her head. She's like, ooh, look at all this money. And I grab it. I'm like, boom. And then his reflexes were quick. He grabbed my hand, and I just pull away, and I run across the street. There was a Clarion hotel. I run to the Clarion, and I go inside, and I'm thinking, like, all right, should I rent a room? And I'm like, no, what if the police know that I ran here? And so I go to the back, and I'm I'm looking around to see if there's cops. I'm freaking out. And T's like, where are you? I'm like, right here. So I get on my phone, and so I think I told you guys before, I sold iPhones to a taxi company. And I was like really in like good friends with these people. Like I'll make another video about that. I think I told you guys another video about how tight I was with this taxi company. So I called the taxi company. I said, hey, this is Timothy. I said, can you send a taxi to the Clarion Hotel right now? He's like, yeah, no problem. I said, how long will it be? He says, oh, about 25 minutes. I said, look, I'll give them an extra $50 if they can be here in 10 minutes. I'm like, I need to go now. He's like, all right, no problem. Let me get, all right. So he sends the taxi. The taxi's there pretty quick. I jump in. T had already came over to the Clarion, and I saw cops rolling around. I don't know if the cops were looking for me or if they were just like cruising around, but they were there. And so I jump in the back of the taxi, and I'm like laying on the floor of the taxi, and I'm thinking, if we can get away from the mall right now, we are going to be living large like fat. And so I'm just hoping, I'm like, just let us get out of this area. And so we did, and I got the money, and T's like, all right, let me see it. I said, no. I said, I'm not giving it to you. I said, we're going to split it up. So it was her lick. So I gave her $3,000 and I kept $2,000. So we did that. And immediately the first thing I want to do is I'm like, we're going to DeMillo's and we are getting lobster and steak and drinks. We don't even drink, but we're going to drink today. And so we go to DeMillo's. I used to work at DeMillo's. I was a busboy. And so I go in there. We are lit, right? And we go in there and I start texting all my dealers, because my dealers don't even have enough. I'm like, no, I want 3 grams. Oh, well, all I got is 40 bags. All right, so I'm just calling everybody. And so the dealers are on their way to DeMillo's. She's texting the crack dealers. The crack dealers are on their way to DeMillo's. So they show up. I'm running out to the parking lot to go get mine. She's running out to the parking lot to go pick up her stuff. Then we got the crack. So then she goes in the DeMillo's bathroom to take a hit of crack. We only got 1 crack pipe, so I got to wait for her to do her crack, and then she's got to come back, pass the pipe to me. We got to let it cool down, you know what I mean? And so then we're just taking trips to the bathroom, like doing crack. I'm talking to the boss. Hey, how's it going? It's me. I'm back. I'm thinking I'm a millionaire. I'm thinking like, here I am. I've returned to the place I've worked, and now I'm rich with my $2,000, and I'm gonna spend $300 on dinner. I just spend another $400 on drugs, so I'm still rich. I've got $1,400. You know, like when you're homeless, that's $2,000. Might as well be $1 million at this point. So we're doing that. After we're done, we go on our separate ways because she's got things to do. She wants to go and hustle things with her money. I want to go and hustle my money. So we ended up going our ways. And I go and I end up buying some iPhones from some people so I can, because I knew the money was going to run out. So I was trying to like invest it like the best way that a junkie could invest it. So I'm buying iPhones and knowing the money's going to run out. Then I'm planning when the money runs out, I can do this. I bought some jewelry, nothing big, like a silver chain, cheap little gold ring. You know what I mean? Just things that I could buy for cheap, and then when the money ran out, I could sell it and recoup some of my money back. So I'm somewhat thinking for the future and trying to make quality investments with my robbery money. And so that's what we did. And then me and T, we ended up getting into a fight about something. Like we went to the dealer and like I got more bags than she did, or she got more bags than I did, and no, you're smoking more of the crack, and you took too much dope, you didn't leave me enough, you know, just stupid stuff like that. So we get into a fight, and we don't see each other for like 3 days while we're on like our spree. She's got her money and I got money, and eventually the money runs out, and I bump into her at the store 3 days later. And we both look at each other like, you got any money left? And she's like, I'm looking at her like, you got any money left? She's looking at me like, you got any money left? And I'm like, so, hey, what's up? She's like, what's up? I'm like, you got any dope? She's like, a little bit. She says, you got any dope? I'm like, a little bit. And she's like, all right, you want to go and see Will? Yeah, let's go see Will. And then we both find out like she's got $100 left and I've got like whatever $100 left. So that was that. I gotta get away from these weed whackers. So I'm gonna skip forward. Or actually no, this was the end of the story. Okay, so what ends up happening is so we did so much dope, and the lifestyle was so unhealthy for like a couple weeks with the money and just running around and everything that T got an infection in her. Oh, this is what happened. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So this is what happened. So we woke up in the morning and she says, Timothy, my legs hurt. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, they hurt really bad. I'm like, well, can you walk? Do you need to go to the hospital? She's like, no. She's like, I can walk and I don't need to go to the hospital, but they just hurt. I said, okay, well, just shake it off. We'll get some exercise. I said, drink some water, eat healthy. She's like, all right. So the day goes by, everything's fine. She wakes up the next morning. She says, my legs really, really hurt. She's like, I can barely walk. So she's walking. She's kind of like got a limp, right? And we don't know what to do. We're strung out. Like, our main focus is just getting another sack. That's it. And so, we do our thing. The next day, we wake up and she says, I can't walk. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. She says, I cannot move my legs. Like, physically, I can't move them. I'm like, all right, well, we gotta go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital. The hospital told her that she had an infection in her leg. They gave her some antibiotics, and I knew she needed rest. She'd been running around. I knew, like, that's what she had to, like, sit down somewhere. She had to rest. She needed to eat and recover. Well, when you're living like that and living that lifestyle, you can't just go and rest. There's nowhere to rest. So I called my dad, and I didn't like going to my dad's house because I had a warrant at the time. And every month, or like whenever, sometimes it'd be once a month, sometimes they'd come every 2 months, the police would come and do a knock at the door to see if I was there, because that was the address that I had on file, was my dad's address. Sometimes they wouldn't come for 3 months, but every once in a while they would come and they would knock on the door to see if I was there. So I didn't like going over to my dad's house. I would go over, he let me borrow a few bucks. I'd go over, I'd get some cigarettes from him. I'd get some food, but I'd be there for a short period and then I'd leave. But I saw that T was sick and she needed to recover. So I'm like, Dad, I said, can me and T come over for a couple days? I'm like, she's not feeling good, and she has an infection in her leg. I said, we got to just chill out for a couple days. And he's like, all right. He didn't want to let us, but he did. And so we go over and we go into the bed. My dad sleeps on the couch. And so we're in the bedroom. We're just, laying down, trying to get some sleep. And the night went by, and like our source of dope, like we didn't have much. Like, when I say not much, I think we had like $20 worth. So it wasn't much. I think we had enough just to not be sick, but nothing more than that. So we're getting rest, and it's in the morning, probably about 8 in the morning, and I hear a knock at the door. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, my dad lives in this big giant apartment complex, so if somebody knocks on the door, sometimes if somebody's knocking on the neighbor's door, it'll sound like they're knocking on your door. So I was hoping that knock, if it was a police knock, that was not a knock at somebody else's door. And so I'm listening, but I'm just like, nah, that can't be them. We've only been here one day. And I hear the door open, and I hear radios, and I'm like, no way, they're really here? And they open up the door, and there's like 4 cops, and they say, Timothy? And I'm just, oh my gosh, no way. I'm like, yeah. They said, put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, right? A stupid warrant. And as he starts talking, he says, you're under arrest for theft. I'm like, theft? I'm like, what, for what? I said, what did I steal? They said, you remember being at the Maine Mall a couple days ago? And I said, so hold on. I said, what exactly am I being arrested for? And he looks at the paper. He says, you're being arrested for Class C theft. And I'm thinking, Class C theft for the $5,000? I'm like, heck yeah. I'm like, that's all? I'm like, because Class C theft is a misdemeanor. It's not even a felony. So I'm like, oh, heck yeah, that's all I'm getting charged with? I'm like, dude, that is sweet. But I'm just like, okay, I'm not telling them anything. And so they want to question me, and they want to question T separate. I said, do not tell them anything. And he's like, come on, man. And, they're trying to get me to talk. And I said, listen, I said, if you let me smoke a few cigarettes before I go to jail, I said, I'll tell you everything you need to know. So they let me smoke. And then I don't tell them anything. They're like, hey, you said you were going to tell us. I'm like, yeah, I said I lied. So they let me smoke some cigarettes, and I knew it was going to be hell because I knew I was going to be going in jail. I was going to be sick. So they end up bringing me in. They bring T to the hospital because she's got the infection. So she goes to the hospital. I go to jail. I see T on the bus because the girls and the guys both take the same bus to jail. So we're on the bus. She looks terrible. I look terrible. Or no, I'm sorry. I look terrible. She didn't look that terrible. And I'm thinking, why doesn't she look that bad? And so then we got to go to court a few days later. So I see her 3 days later. She don't look that bad. I'm like, yo, she brought stuff in. I know she brought stuff in. So I'm gonna fast forward. So come to find out, when the cops had came to arrest us, she had the blankets over her and she had stuff. She ended up sneaking Suboxones into jail with her, so she was able to microdose and not have to go through as bad withdrawals. I was so mad when I heard about that. I'm like, so I'm dying and you're just okay? So she had it easy because she was smart and brought those in. But so we end up going to court, and obviously Grant's pressing charges and everything. So we both end up taking a plea bargain. The plea was it 6 months or no? It was either 6 months. Oh, I think I took 9 months and she took 6 months. Because she got out like a couple months before me. So she got out and she went on house arrest to Virginia. She had warrants back in Virginia. So she was able to get let out, went back to Virginia, went to go live with her grandparents, but had to have an ankle monitor on. I got out. Now check this out, right? So since the dude was a sex offender, and since he had all those messed up charges, you know what I'm talking about? Since he had all those messed up charges, normally in a theft case, if you take a plea, which is admitting to the crime, because I admitted to the crime. And so usually when you take a plea on a theft, and it doesn't matter who it is, Walmart, a person, you have to pay back restitution of the amount of whatever it is that you took. So if you steal from Walmart and you steal whatever, $100, the amount that you need to pay back to Walmart in restitution is $100. Well, in this case, it would have been $5,000. But my lawyer comes in and my lawyer tells me, he says, the judge doesn't like that guy because he's a creep. I'm like, yeah, I know he's a creep. I said he was in federal prison. And he's like, yeah. So he says, the judge is going to do something a little different for you. I said, what? He says, so you're going to take the plea, you're going to plead out, you're going to say, yeah, I took the money. He says, but the judge ain't going to make you pay back a dime of that money to that guy. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He says, because he's afraid that if you pay him back $5,000, he's afraid where that money's going to go. I'm like, wow. So I didn't see that coming. So that's what happened, and I will continue in the next story. Palabra.